Good evening and welcome to Short Yardage from For Fantasy's Sake, sponsored by Mobile Party Experience. I am Doug Green. The other guys have abandoned me and have went incommunicado on me, so I am waiting for them to show up. But we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit through while we wait for the guys to show up in here. So, really good games here in week one. I thought the best game there's been a couple of really good games. As I keep saying, like I've never done this before. So, really good games. Monday night game was excellent. I'm an old man, so I didn't make it to the end of that. But that Raiders comeback was pretty exciting from what I saw on the highlights. The Browns-Kansas City game, Cleveland led that for most of the way. I was actually expecting them to win that game until Kansas City remembered that they were Kansas City, put their foot on the gas, and then kind of took off from there. That was a very exciting game. And then the Minnesota-Cincinnati game that went into overtime. I know the Vikings fans out there, Ryan Sargent, Jordan Rangel, were not happy with the way that played out. But for the casual viewers out here, overtime thrillers are always fun for the rest of us, as long as your team either comes out on the winning end of that, or that they, or at least neutral in there. So those kind of games are fun for us in there. Had some big exciting plays, some big exciting fantasy players this week. Tyson Williams, I believe is his name, is from Baltimore, the running back there. He was kind of the breakout candidate. Everybody kind of said that he was going to be the guy going in there, but nobody really kind of knew what to expect. And then when you actually got to see him live, he was everything that he was built to be. Broke off a bunch of big runs. Really looked like he was going to be the guy who's going to be the alpha in Baltimore. If you haven't had the chance to pick him up on the waiver wire yet, for some crazy reason he was still hanging around out there, go spend a good chunk of your fab budget to go get him. He is definitely worth the money out there. The guy who was a surprise, who probably shouldn't have been a surprise, was Jamar Chase. He clearly had the talent. Everybody kind of had all their shorts in a twist over him saying that the transition to the NFL ball was weird, and because it didn't have the stripe anymore, he was having a hard time seeing it, or some kind of BS like that. All he did was go out and rip one off in that Cincinnati game, and really kind of looked like the first-round draft pick that everybody kind of knew him to be. Let me pull up that stat sheet so I can see what the box score was for that on him there. Yeah, 5 catches, 101 yards, and a touchdown on 7 targets. So Joe Burrow looked really, really good. 20 of 27, 261 yards, and 2 touchdowns coming off of that surgically repaired knee. Everybody was kind of worried about that with that offensive line. But he looked pretty good. And then Joe Mixon, obviously, with the 29 carries for 127 yards and a touchdown himself, obviously had an excellent game there as well. So a couple of standout performers there from that game. Wanted to make sure I highlighted those guys as we are in here. The shock on the negative side was the fact that Green Bay just got spanked by New Orleans. As a Bears fan, I'm always cheering for them to lose and to not play well. And somewhere in the back of your mind, realistically, you have to know that they're still a pretty darn good team. And they came out and they just laid an egg. Of course, all the jokes on Twitter are all about Rodgers should have spent less time on Jeopardy and more time on practicing and less time being a whiny little crybaby and more time with his guys throwing footballs. I don't know whether that was that or what, but he clearly did not look good. Didn't play well. Admitted that he didn't play well. So now they get the Lions this week in what on paper you would assume to be kind of a tune-up game. You don't expect the Lions to be very good, but they came out and they played pretty well last week. They pulled off the win against San Francisco, which I would have never picked Detroit in that game. In there, I would have thought that was San Francisco the whole way, and Detroit just went in there and just got the win. Let's take a look at that box score real quick and see what we can see about that particular game. See if we can ascertain anything from that particular game. If I can find it. Now I've got to try and vamp without somebody else here. This is why I need a second person, because I can't both research and talk at the same time in here. Let's take a look at the Lions first. Goff put it up 57 times, really. 38 of 57, 338 yards, 3 tutties, and a pick in there. So that's probably about as good as a day as you're going to get out of Jared Goff. So that is your highlights, your high point, high water mark of the season right there for him. Hawk was the main receiver in there. 8 catches for 97 yards and a tutty on 11 targets. DeAndre Swift also had 11 targets and 8 catches. He only got 65 yards, but he also got that touchdown in there as well. Looks like they were playing that ball control kind of short yardage game there. 20 carry split, 11 for Swift, 9 for Jamal Williams. Williams had more yards and the score. Swift had more carries in there. So that's how that broke down. Let's see what the 49ers did on their side. Jimmy Garoppolo, 17 to 25 for 314 yards and a touchdown. Eli Mitchell, 19 carries, 104 yards, and a touchdown there. He's been kind of the hotness on the waiver wire with people looking to pick him up in there. Deebo Samuel was the big receiving threat, 9 catches, 189 yards, and 1 touchdown on 12 targets. The guy who everybody was surprised by was Brandon Ayuk. Most folks kind of think of him as the wide receiver 1 there. He didn't even get any targets, I don't think. He wasn't even targeted, which is crazy. So there's a little bit of Twitter backlash about that. We'll see how that adjusts this week for San Francisco in there. And then Kittle had his standard 4 catches for 78 yards in there. So nothing crazy with that. All right, so let's take a look at what else was going on around the NFC North. Oh, yes, the Bears. My Bears. They did not look good Sunday night. I was expecting kind of a little bit more out of them. They did not play well there. The offense looked average at best. That was kind of the high watermark there was the average. The defense was what really surprised me, man. They could not stop anybody. We all saw the comically bad play from Stafford, or not from Stafford. Stafford threw that really long kind of post route. Guy catches the ball, splits the 2 defenders, and basically walks in untouched. All they had to do was touch him down, and they both just kind of stared at him like they had never played touch football before. We all saw that play. We all saw kind of the other big one that was also ripped off as well. So really not a good night. Couldn't stop them on 3rd down. Couldn't get any type of turnover. Mac didn't get any type of pass rush at all. So really was not looking good for the folks from Windy City. Of course, then that brings out all of the outrage. Where's Fields? Need to start Fields. Fields look better than Andy Dalton. Here's what I'll say. And I agree that Justin Fields needs to start. Justin Fields needs to be out there playing. And they did throw him out there at kind of random times for special plays. If you want to throw him out there, put him out there for a series just to see what he can do. Just throwing him out there once and then pulling him back off the field, to me, that doesn't do anything. You're not helping his development there. Yes, that's probably a surprise to the defense because they don't know when he's coming out. But I still want to see him have a consistent set of reps. Even if it's only 1 series in the first half, 1 series in the second half, give him a series and to let him go do his thing in there. Now, all that said, if you would have told us before this, as we went into the offseason, Andy Dalton's going to be the guy. We've gotten rid of Mitch. If you would have told us at the end of week 17 last year, season's over, it's all whatever. They're going to be like, we're going to bring in Andy Dalton, and in his first game, his numbers are going to be, let me pull them up so I make sure I have this right in there. Andy Dalton's going to pass 27 for 38 for 206 yards, no touchdowns, and an interception. Most of us would probably say we'd be all right with that. at worst, you're not going anything worse from Mitch. And then you hope kind of the veteran presence there would push that ahead, hoping that he would make some reads that maybe Mitch wouldn't have made back there. Once you start sprinkling in Justin Fields on top of that, though, that's where all of the firestorm comes from, because Fields has just a much better arm. He's obviously more athletic, just has more of electricity, has more of an it factor about him than Andy Dalton does. I'm not saying that they shouldn't be playing Fields, because I absolutely think they should be playing Fields. All I'm saying is, if you would have told us that Andy Dalton was the guy and didn't tell anybody that Justin Fields was on the roster, a lot of Bears fans would have been content with Andy Dalton doing what he needs to do. David Montgomery, everybody's been kind of down on David Montgomery. I had a lot of faith in him. He came out and he's rewarded that. 16 carries, 108 yards, 1 touchdown. First guy since Walter Payton to have a touchdown in 6 or 8 consecutive games. I can't remember what the stat was that I saw. But really, he's really kind of established that running game. As long as they can convince Nagy that he is the guy that needs to be carrying the ball, I would give him more. I would give him 20 carries a game. Let me see how many catches he had. And he only had the 1 catch, so only 17 catches. So he's got to have 20 to 25 touches per game. And for me, that'd be 20 runs and 5 pass attempts, or 5 targets at least, in there, just to make sure that he's getting the handle on there as well. Obviously, Allen Robinson's my guy. I'd like to see him catch more balls. He did have 11 of the targets, led the team in targets, led the team in receptions. Just they only were for 35 yards in there, so obviously have to push that ball down the field a little bit more. I would like to see more push out of that as well. In terms of what's coming to the site, we've got a couple of things coming tomorrow. Just so that you are aware, we'll plug those. Nick has his waiver wire options. That will go live at 11 tomorrow. Andrew has his stock up, stock down option article. That will go live at 1:30. And then on tomorrow, Thursday, then the next day after that will be our gambling issue from Tim Corwin, our gambling article from there. So lots of stuff coming out this week. Still got plenty more to come from. So there's plenty of stuff to hit up there on the site. You can always reach out to us on Twitter and Facebook and let us know kind of what's going on there. Oh, big injuries. Wanted to make sure we touched on those as well. I almost forgot that. See, this is why I need somebody else and probably a shot sheet on here. Fitzmagic, if you were riding with Ryan Fitzpatrick, you are now, hopefully you managed to grab Taylor Heineke, or you've gotten somebody else there, just because he hurt his hip and he is going to be out for a while. I know there's another major injury that I can't think of right now, where somebody's lost for. You see, it was the other Baltimore running back that also is going to be on the IR for the rest of the season. So, no, I'm sorry, that was Raheem Mostert that was going to be gone for the rest of the season in there. Other big surprises, Texans won. I assumed that they would go 0-17 and lose by 40 all week. Clearly that is not going to be the case. So they played well, or at least well enough to beat the Jaguars in Trevor Lawrence's debut with that one. Let's take a look at how that went. Trevor Lawrence went 28 of 51, 332 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 picks. His favorite target, if you're trying to find somebody there, DJ Chark got 12 targets and hauled in. Holy crap! You got 12 targets, only hauled in 3 of them. Wow, that's bad. Laviska Shenault, 10 targets, caught 7 of those. James O'Shaughnessy, 8 targets, caught 6 of those. Marvin Jones, 9 targets, caught 5 of those. So lots of things going sideways down there in Jacksonville with that. On the Houston side, Tyrod came in 21 of 33, 291 yards, 2 touchdowns. They're also 4 carries for 40 yards on the ground for Ty Guy in there. He's never going to be anything flashy, guys. We all know that. But we know that he's going to be at least solid. And let's be honest, they don't have a ton down there either. Brandon Cooks did Brandon Cooks-like things. 7 targets, 5 catches, 132 yards. No scores on that, though, but obviously a big enough number there to push you, hopefully, into more of a winning atmosphere. Nobody else on that team really did a whole bunch of anything. Mark Ingram got the bulk of the carries on the ground, 26 for 85, a touchdown, but he's only averaging 3.3 yards a carry. So very plotting there, but nothing that you wouldn't expect from Mark Ingram in that capacity there. So let's see what other games were out there that you guys would want to talk about. If you guys want to send in questions or anything, certainly it's a pale my sorry butt out here. Certainly happy to take all of those as well. We talked about the Washington end of it. We didn't talk about the Chargers end of it there. Let's take a look and see what the Bolts did with that. Justin Herbert, 31 of 47, 337 yards and a touchdown. Austin Eckler, who there was a lot of question whether he was actually going to play that week. 15 carries, 57 yards, and a touchdown. He also had, see if you have what he did in the passing game there. No catches, really. Surprising. No any targets. Okay, so Eckler just had the 15, 57, and a touchdown. Through the air, Keenan Allen and Mike Williams were your guys. Keenan Allen, 9 catches, 100 yards, even no touchdowns. Mike Williams, 8 catches, 82 yards, and the tutty for that one. Where's the Arizona game? I want to talk about the Arizona game. Find those numbers. Find that box score. Where you at? Where you at? Where you at? Chiefs, blah, 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 blah. Come on. I need to make my screen bigger. Maybe I can find it. There we go. Cardinals, Titans. This is a game I actually am very surprised about the margin. Cardinals won 38-13. I thought the Titans were going to be pretty decent this year, and I thought their defense would be a lot better. They were not in there. So let's take a look starting on the Arizona side. Kyler Murray, 21 of 32, 289 yards, 4 touchdowns, but he was flinging lasers all over the place according to the highlights. Looked really, really good out there. 5 carries for 20 yards and a touchdown there as well. Nuke had 6 catches, 83 yards, 2 touchdowns on 8 targets. It was Christian Kirk week as well. He was kind of your surprise on this team this week. 5 catches, 70 yards, and 2 touchdowns there. Caught all 5 of his targets, by the way. Rookie Rondale Moore, 4 catches, 68 yards on 4 targets with those. In terms of the splits on the running back side, James Conner had 16 carries for 53 yards. Chase Edmonds had 12 carries for 63 yards in there. So Conner got 4 more carries. Edmonds got 10 more yards in there. Edmonds also caught 4 balls for 43 yards as well. So he was the better play on that. On the Tennessee side, Tannehill, 21 of 35, 212 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception there. I know early on in that game, he was not doing well. Like his completion percentage was pretty pukey, and the yards just weren't there. So clearly it picked up in there. Derrick Henry, 17 carries, 58 yards for him. Pretty pedestrian numbers there. So Arizona found a way to shut down that running game, and all their stuff predicates off of the play action. So if you're shutting down Henry, then you're shutting down that passing game as well. Julio only had 3 catches for keeps jumping on me there. Julio had 3 catches for 29 yards. A.J. Brown had 4 catches for 49 yards and a touchdown. Not what you want out of those two guys. You're looking for a lot bigger numbers. Brown had 8 targets. Julio had 6 in there. So looking for better numbers out of those guys this week. So hopefully they bounce back to be more of what we want. Yeah, I also just see here that Ryan Tannehill also lost 2 fumbles. So he had 3 turnovers by himself, and that is not the formula for winning, especially against Arizona. That can put up a lot of points on you in a hurry. Other debuts, let's see if I can find that Jets game. Jets-Panthers in the Sam Darnold revenge game was on there as well. Start with the Carolina side for Mr. Darnold himself. 24-35, 279 yards and a touchdown. Obviously didn't light the world on fire, but he's in a lot better position than he was in New York up there. Christian McCaffrey, 21 carries, 98 yards, 9 catches for 89 yards, still being that stud number one guy that we all draft him to be in there. On the receiving side, DJ Moore, 6 catches, 80 yards, and then Robbie Anderson, 1 catch, 57 yards, and a touchdown. I had started him on the advice of Mr. DJ, and then, of course, that's all he gives me. He hit that early, and I thought I was going to have myself a pretty good day out of him, and then he doesn't do anything else. Rookie Terrace Marshall, 3 catches, 26 yards for him there out of that game. On the Jets side, let's take a look at that. Where's the passing? Is it that bad that they don't even want to show the passing? They are not showing the passing in this box score for the Jets. That's how bad it was in there. That's funny. I know at one point he was like that Zach Wilson was like 1 of 6 or 1 of 7. I assume that he finished much better than that, clearly with the different numbers in here, but I don't know what his final numbers were because this box score here on NFL.com does not show me. Rushing statistics, Tevin Coleman was the number one guy there, 9 carries, 24 yards. Ty Johnson, 4 for 15, and Michael Carter, 4 for 6. So a whole bunch of nothing there on the ground. On the receiving side, Corey Davis, 5 catches, 97 yards, 2 touchdowns on 7 targets. Braxton Berrios, 7 targets, 5 catches, 51 yards in there as well. So that is what you are looking at from that Jets game in there. Game tomorrow night. Let's take a look at what the Thursday's game is going to be. That is going to be the Giants at Washington. Tyler Heineke back at the controls for Washington there. Both of those teams are 0-1. Game will be in Washington. So one of those teams will get off the schneid. Hopefully, that has a better night for Saquon. Obviously, that Washington defense is pretty dang good. So that's going to be a big challenge for him. Probably whoever kind of controls that ground game, considering that the passing games there are going to be maybe not great. So I would say whoever defense controls the ground game will flip around there. The offense there will be the team that takes that ball game. With that, moving on from there, games on Sunday that we'll discuss more Sunday morning, but Patriots and Jets doesn't carry quite the luster that it used to. Denver, Jacksonville, Buffalo, Miami. Surprised Buffalo. I actually thought Buffalo would beat Pittsburgh. That was the other game that I watched this week. I expected that one to be pretty competitive. Buffalo seemed to have that kind of in control until about halfway through the third quarter. Then they just kind of fell apart and kind of gave that game away more than I would say that Pittsburgh won it. But Sicoli and Nick will probably tell me that I'm wrong about that one. San Francisco and Philly. Jalen Hurts looked really good. Devontae Smith looked really, really good in their game this week as well. So lots of people were worried about Devontae Smith and him being so skinny or whatever. He was just fine in there. Rams at Indy on Sunday. That's not going to be a contest. I think that's all Rams all day, but we'll see how that plays out. Vegas, Pittsburgh, Sunday afternoon. 12 o'clock start with that as well. Vegas surprised some folks. Games in Pittsburgh, though, so we'll see how that shakes out. But my money for me will be that game's that'll be Pittsburgh's game to lose. Cincy, Chicago in there. Boy, I hope Chicago plays better this week. I would like to see them make some adjustments. We'll see how that goes. Cincy, obviously, they kind of, they had that. They were very close to tying, but finally ended up beating Minnesota in overtime. So we'll see how that's going to shake out. If Chicago cannot cover those 3 Cincy wide receivers, that is going to be a long day. They have to fix that pass coverage, whatever's going on. Matt needs to get off, and that pass coverage at the back end needs to find a way to cover folks because the guys, in terms of pure talent, I will tell you that Cincy probably has more pure talent on the outside than LA does. That's just my opinion, but we'll see how that goes. Houston, Cleveland. If I would have told you that one of those teams is 1-0 and the other one's going to be 0-1, you would have probably had that game going the other way. That game is in Cleveland. Cleveland's probably going to be pretty ticked off, so I imagine that game is going to be pretty Cleveland heavy. Nick Chubb just looks like a bad man. Looks like he's really in for a big year this year. New Orleans, Carolina, another early game there. That ought to be a fun one down south. There, Jameis looked crazy good. Now, whether that was just the Packers mailing it in, or maybe Sean Payton is the quarterback whisperer that we all thought that he was. Maybe LASIK is more important. Maybe I should get me some LASIK in there to fix Jameis. We'll see. Because once is a chance, twice becomes a trend. We'll see how that's going to play out here this week. See how Jameis and the guys play out there. Minnesota, Arizona kicks off your late games there, so we'll see how that game shakes out. That game's in Arizona. Atlanta at Tampa Bay. People expected more out of Atlanta this week or last week. I didn't see that. Really going to see how that they're going to struggle. They really don't have kind of a rushing game. Cordero Patterson, former Bear, former Viking, both was the primary rushing attack with that one. He's not going to put any fear into anyone, which is going to make it hard for Calvin Ridley and Kyle Pitts to get going there. Tampa Bay is Tampa Bay. They're going to look pretty good. They beat Dallas on Thursday night, and Dallas also lost DeMarcus Lawrence today to a foot injury. Broken bone in his foot, going to be out for a while. Tennessee, Seattle, there as well. In the afternoon, that game is in Seattle. We'll see if Tennessee can look a little bit better. But generally, teams going, they haven't played well on the West Coast, so we'll see how that shakes out. Dallas Chargers, there as well. Don't know about that game, especially without D-Law. Dak did look good Thursday night. We're hoping that he's back to being himself. We'll see how that game shakes out in there. With that one, KC Baltimore is the highlight game Sunday night. Obviously, Baltimore kind of let that one slip through their fingers against against Las Vegas Monday night. So they should be itching to get back out there. Lamar did look really, really good. You can really tell that he's kind of evolved as a passer in there. He's not just taking off anymore. He is starting to look a lot more like him, like a really talented passer that we kind of all know that he can be. And then the Monday night game next week is Detroit and Green Bay, and it may be a stink fest, maybe something good. Who knows? In there. So we'll see how those games will play out. Looks like nobody else is showing up here tonight, so I'm going to go ahead and check out. Appreciate everybody who hung in here tonight. Hopefully we will be back on Sunday at 10 o'clock, just like we always are with the guys. We'll be back next Wednesday for short yardage, just like we always do. And then Monday night, make sure you check out MNF, Michael Nick's football show. We're still kind of workshopping that name, but they have their own show there on Mondays right before Monday Night Football. So make sure you check that out. So plenty of video content throughout the week to keep you up to date. And then we also have all the stuff on the site. So again, thank Mobile Party Experience for being our title sponsor this year. I am Doug. I am checking off, and we will see you guys next week. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.